So glad I've gotten a chance to stretch my muscles, Mew thought as he rolled his stiff shoulders around. 2 years and no fighting makes Mew a dull boy.
Quality voice.
Why is he goofy?
It's not what I thought of, but I like it.
But as he reached the end of his beautiful garden, he was reminded of an issue that no amount of training could have prepared.
Clash of the Elements?
Could have prepared him for.
Big
Oh,
5'2".
right. He slowed to a crawl in front of a fine-looking wood pagoda blocking the way forward in lieu of a portal. Standing before the open shutters with Kairi biting the tips of her fingernails until Mew walked into her line of sight. She slowly pulled her hand down and looked utterly distraught. Distraught? I don't know if that's the correct spelling.
Distraught.
With her
Yeah,
eyes...
it is. It didn't register as like a mistake on the word thing, so...
With her eyes wide, she dropped her hands to her waist and turned aside. She pretended like she wasn't looking. But Mew wasn't fooled. He put on a smile and waved his hand up, hollering out, "Yo, I'm all done," in a middling attempt to avoid what's bugging her. But as he climbed up the few pagoda steps and stood right next to her, he could tell it wasn't going to be that easy. Her first response was obvious. She looked at him from the corner of her eyes and asked, "Is he okay?" in a hesitant tone of voice. Mew wagged his hand out and with a casual smile remarked, "Oh, he's fine. I only roughed him up a little." Kairi tightly wrapped her arms below her chest and grit her teeth. Mew could tell her anger was building, and it was meshing badly with her confusion. Her pupils shrank, and she mumbled in a meek manner, "Maybe you should have wrapped him up a lot." And then, even quieter than before, "Maybe you'd be better off dead." Mew paused for a moment and ungracefully remarked, "You don't actually believe that." "And just what am I supposed to believe?" she roared with indignant rage. She then turned upon Mew, with her face red and her cheeks looking mildly dampened. "I trusted him. I welcomed him into our house," Kairi went on, like that for a little bit longer before boiling her biggest issue down to one sentence. "And he was working for Gravitas the whole time."
Oh.
Mew stared at Kairi's face as her passion twisted his heart. She was fighting back small tears of rage, and her fists were curled up ready to hit something. But she had to catch her breath, and in that moment Mew saw his opportunity to say, "But that's not what he's doing." She raised her head but slightly and murmured, "How would you know?" The distrust in her voice hurt, but was understandable. Mew didn't have an answer for that. The best he could come up with was to say, "It's a grown-up thing," and hope for the best. Kairi hung her head, and under her breath murmured, "I'm not a child anymore." And just like that, she swung her head back up, bore her glare into Mew's own eyes, and planted a finger firmly on his chest. Her aggression manifested as a plea for answers when she yelled at him, "Who am I supposed to trust? My mother? The planetary Aryans? You?" Her finger curled into her fist as she punched Mew once on the chest. Mew stiffened up, didn't flinch, and let her vent her frustrations out as she asked of him, "Why should I trust you? Tell me." Give me one good reason why I shouldn't think you are working for Gravitas. After a few more seconds of punching Mew's chest, Kyrie's knuckles were red, and she hold on, what the fuck? He's just punching his chest, and she's like in pain now or something?
He's Mew of steel, I guess.
He's made out of plottonite, so he can't be damaged.
I'm just gonna believe you and move on.
Okay.
And she dragged them down back to her hip. Mew then closed his eyes and admitted, "Guess I have no choice." He turned around and Kyrie looked up. She swung her arms out and exclaimed, "Well, Mew crossed his arms against his chest and suddenly got a super serious sounding, "You forced me to use my ultimate technique." A feeling of dread overcame Kyrie as Mew started to turn around. She retreated slightly right as Mew unveiled his ultimate technique. Bliggle, blaggle, bliggle, blaggle. A strange moan came out of Mew's mouth as he stuck his tongue out and touched the tip of it to the bottom of his nose. He had one eye looking down, the other oh shit. His thumbs pulled at the sides of his mouth, while his pinkies poked into his eardrums, the remainder of his fingers wiggling about like a head of alien hair.
Idle animation.
Kyrie was shocked, then pinched her lips together and let out a snort. Finally, her anger was fully disarmed and replaced by her keeling over with laughter. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. You look so stupid. And she pulled her head back and laid her hands on her stomach. Mew thus undid his silly look and stood upright with a smile. Mission complete.
I like the idea that, like, getting betrayed by your father figure can just be solved with a nice, funny face.
Hey,
Well, hold
That's why
on.
That's
shut
why
up,
Lanky
Mew.
Kong is so strong.
Oh my, is Lanky Kong in the story?
No.
Yes. You don't remember that?
No, he never showed up. No
You
Donkey
trapped
Kong
in the
characters show
DK
up.
barrel?
Her small pupils and lush pink cheeks showed she was embarrassed.
You
And
missed
in
a part.
turn, she had
After the mission complete.
Mew had a hearty chuckle and then replied sarcastically, "Fuck off."
Tiger.
Okay. Alright.
Tiger, if you skip anything, I will know.
Alright, Kyrie,
Back to mission complete.
Apparently not the part about Lanky Kong.
Kyrie suddenly broke out with laughter. "What do you think you're doing?" Her small pupils and lush cheeks showed she was embarrassed, and then, in turn, she had difficulty getting her words out. This isn't the time to be joking." Mew laid a hand up by his face and remarked, Look, if I was looking for Gravitas, I could have taken you to him any time." He smiled a bit more and said softly, "You can trust me, okay?" She stood there and thought about for a bit. Mew could tell it was hard for her. It'd be hard for anyone to believe that they're not alone in the world. You alright, Mew?
Friggin' Tiger's Mew voice makes me think of this image specifically.
Yep.
Anyways, continue, Tiger.
Chaos Wars.
Let's have a look.
But after
Right, where am I?
giving Kyrie,
But after giving Iris some space for a couple minutes, she looked at him, and the first thing she did was pout. Her expression was a lot more soft, kinda like a puppy's. But upon crossing her arms under her chest She let out a hefty sigh and remarked, "I guess you are too stupid to trick me." Mew had a hearty chuckle and replied sarcastically, "Geez, thanks."
Did it sound sarcastic at all? Redo it.
Fuck you.
I don't know. Can Goofy be sarcastic? I don't know if he has it in him.
Mew had a hearty chuckle at that and replied sarcastically, "Geez, thanks." She then tried really hard to look off to the side as she mumbled, "S. So, what are we waiting for?" Let's keep. Mew firmly nodded his head and let out an excited "Yay!" at the thought of seeing the next planetary Aryan. He started to walk past Kyrie and into the pagoda, but he could have sworn he heard "thank you" on the way. He turned back for a moment and cheekily went, "What was that?" I don't know how to make a cheeky voice, Mew, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. That's okay. You can keep going.
Only for Kyrie to shove him with both her hands and stammer an angry, "Gee, get a move on already, idiot."
Baka.
Okay. Mew threw his hands up in sweet surrender and then laid them back by his hips. As he did so, he felt a slight tearing sensation on his chest. He looked down and noticed the wound had reopened slightly. He quickly cauterized it with a fingertip.
Crawl again.
Sweet surrender, you say?
Rip the skin, you say.
He quickly cauterized it with a fingertip and glanced back to make sure Kyrie wasn't. We. I'm gonna skip that part. Whew. Good thing the dried blood meshes well with this shirt. And then stood upright and walked up the stairs ahead of her.
Okay, Tiger, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. For context, Mew took a big cut to the chest during his fight against Gabriel last chapter. So that's what he kind of had a bleeding wound.
Yeah, I can gather that.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah.
Like, there are some other things I have some questions about in this chapter. I don't know the context, but
chapter.
This one is a bit
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
self-explanatory. Let's see.
He started to walk past Kyrie.
Yeah, the climb was relatively short, with no twists or turns to slow them down. Even Kyrie didn't make a peep, though obviously there was a lot on
not
him.
Easter yet.
Those are disgusting, by the way.
Fuck you. Suck my dick.
Eat shit, ass.
Peeps are fine.
Keep going.
Nothing wrong with
Get Cadbury eggs instead.
Deep fry 'em.
Fuck out of here.
See, this guy knows it's up. I don't actually deep fry them, though I microwave them. It's different.
For once, Mew was happy not to pry. He was just glad to know that she could still smile and laugh. To him, it was a sign that there was a chance to make her feel better regarding whatever it is that's bothering her. They arrived at the 5th floor.
Tiger?
Sorry, I needed to get some water. They arrived at the 5th floor in record time. Mew was a little surprised by what he found there. It's like he had walked into a huge nightclub or an overcompensating man cave. There was a bunch of conveniences strewn about, from arcade machines, a 2-story tall refrigerator, couple couches, some workout equipment, a soda dispenser, a 100-inch plasma screen TV. This planetary Orion sounding like my kind of guy. Mew clapped his hands and bobbed his head, getting into a party groove. Oh God, Kyrie groaned loudly. 2 of you? Mew turned around and naturally poked a bit of fun of her. Boy, you don't know the half of it.
No, Kyrie's a boy?
Ah, yes, so.
That's a plot twist.
Schrodinger's dick.
What?
What?
That's-
Yeah, no, I heard him. I got
Oh wait,
it.
what's part of the story?
What?
Go ahead, Tiger.
What? She said, with her brows tilted.
Alright.
Never mind. You're welcome to bow out if too much of me's a bad. Nah, forget it. And that's the bottom line. Kyrie raised her head haughtily and then said with a sneer, if I'm lucky, the 2 of you will bash out your remaining brain cells. Mew closed his eyes and snickered to himself. Good to see the princess is back in high spirit. I got 10 more pages of this shit.
If that it didn't say
Out of
because Stone
character.
Cold said so.
Yeah, you got this. I believe in you.
Don't have to do it all in one night, Tiger.
I don't want to do this a second night.
Well,
It's
you have to.
daylight
The
savings
requirements.
time.
The requirements a whole chapter.
Please spare us.
Then he turned to the portal.
Are we
Then
even
he
a quarter of the
turns-
way through this?
No.
No.
Very good.
We're gonna be
Then
here
he
at least
turned-
another hour.
Jesus.
Then he
We're here
turned
for
to
an
the
hour.
portal on the other side of the room and started to walk towards it. Given that the pattern was thus far was obvious where they'd be going next, also considering how things were in Mercury, Mew didn't feel worried about oxygen going forward. He walked into the portal and assumed Kyrie would follow a second after. One familiar warp later, and the 2 wound up on the 4th planet from the sun, Mars. Red rocky lands, orange-pink skies, and nothing but hilltops and dust as far as the eye could. It's a little
And
more.
why do you say on Mars instead of 4th planet and just padding it?
Teenage overlord.
Okay, yeah.
It's a little more exciting than Mercury, but that's like comparing chocolate cake to red velvet. Mew remarked, and then felt a little drool coming out of his mouth as he mumbled, "Damn it, now I really want a cake." He turned back around to see how Kyrie was reacting to this new planet. She looked bored, unsurprisingly, and her opinions of this place mirrored Mew's similarly. Well, at least it's more colorful than Mercury. Mew turned back in wonder to himself. Why is NASA so desperate to come here? Research Flat Earth. There was one thing that stuck out though, and no, it's not aliens. It was an arcade machine set up 100 yards out with an electrical generator wired up to it.
Even here, they have melty setups.
Oh, shit.
They got good taste.
You
God.
think?
They have to play Mr. Do.
Hold on a second.
hell
Hold on
yeah.
a second. Mew, are you
This seems a
confirming
little
that
bit
there
too high
are...
class for Melty.
Not too high class for Mr. Do, though. Mr. Do,
All
Which
right,
Mr. Do?
Without a peep.
Okay, without a peep, Mew started walking towards it, causing Kyrie to blurt out, "Hey!" and chase after. The 2 walked across the calm Mars lands and arrived to the next arcade machine. Kyrie went into a slump and grumbled, "You can't be serious." Mew put a hand to his chin and pondered about. Who knows? Maybe this is the next planetary Orion. Kyrie swung her head towards him, still slumped over like a hunchback, and said, "The machine? Really? Seriously?" Mew tilted his head and propositioned, with a bit of hesitation, There could be a digital AI inside of the machine. You never know. What?
No, I was thinking about the seriously fucking Zack Attack Studios.
What so? We need to jump into cyberspace. Kyrie suddenly raised and shook her head and grumbled, why am I even going in along with this nonsense?
WY. Oh, I typed out. Sorry.
Yes. I'm just gonna say the letter for any stutter posting bull.
Okay.
Mew chuckled at her and then looked back at the arcade machine. A bit of sparks went off from behind along with someone going gacked in response. The machine then whirred to life and the person working on it stumbled out from behind on one foot. It was a guy somewhere between Mew and Kyrie's height, but looked a little older than them both. He had natural dark brown skin. Oh my god, this diversity. That made his orange hair stick out all the more.
Minjo, fuck you!
What?
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh.
It's
Okay.
been how many years, and he finally found a way to put one in.
Anyways, because you're describing him.
It's current year, my guy.
He had his hair slicked. He had his hair
See, you're
slicked
putting
back
some gun bingo too. Fit right in.
to his shoulders, with some of it sticking up on end atop his head. His outfit started with a sleeveless vest and a wave orange, red, yellow pattern and golden rims with a rope-like texture to them. Then it went on.
Were there 7 of those rings?
No,
In hand.
rims. Rims, not rings.
Rims, like the job.
No.
Then it went
That's it.
on.
That's it.
No, come on.
No, it's
Let
too late.
me vent. Let me.
Isn't he punished enough?
Nope.
Trash him.
Don't
Can't
trash
punish
him.
the rest
Easy.
of us in the process. He's already doing that.
Oh, let me click on this.
Anyways,
music.
then went on to a red sash.
Where was I?
Then it went on to a red sash.
Holding some baggy white pants up, clearly Arabian inspired, like Disney's Aladdin Arabia to be precise. The guy preferred not to wear shoes, which, oh my god, which meant having to look at his dry, cracked feet. But judging from his six-pack abs and firm pectoral muscles, he clearly didn't mind have one glaring flaw in his appearance. You got anything to say, Mimers?
No! I'm just describing his appearance.
You're among friends here.
Hot.
Anyways. Okay, so upon finishing,
His one-legged balancing act, the guy swung his head towards his company and looked at them with his brown eyes, as wide as a goldfish's. He mentally checked out for a moment as he put his feet down and hid his electrically singed hands behind his back, while he rubbed the burnt skin on his pants. He remarked in a laid-back tone of voice, geez, you guys came sooner than I expected. Mew walked up to this newcomer and immediately held his right hand out, greeting him with a simple, "Hey there. So, the name's..."
I was expecting that.
I'm glad you did that.
You did not disappoint there.
thank you very much.
The guy stared at him back and then shook his hand and said with a smile,
Ari and Mars, and all my buddies call me
Nice nose.
Seth.
Seth.
I'm
Mew-
Phil Monroe.
Mew pulled his hand back and pointed at the arcade machine from across his chest. So, Seth, what's up with that? Seth crossed his arms under his chest, looked at the machine, and remarked,
I bought this from a pawn store, allegedly. It plays a super old Earth fighting game called Street Fighter 3.
Oh, no kidding? Mew rubbed his chin and pivoted towards the machine. He then smiled at Seth, gestured a finger towards the machine, and asked, Wanna go a round or two? Seth's face lit up as he softly ushered out a
Hell yeah.
and joined Mew in heading towards the machine. Kairi just stood by, staring blankly at the odd scene playing out before her eyes and only uttering a single, "What the fuck?" at the whole thing. Seth had the machine rigged to run without quarters, so that two quickly got into the thick of things. Mew picked his character first, and Seth chose his Sounds of Aegis, Reflector, and Hadouken.
Very
And
ironic
Arcade.
setting.
Yeah. But I just
And
gotta know.
arcade sticks.
Mew, do either of them play Q?
I mean, there's Aegis, Reflectors, and Hadokens. Clearly, it's a Urien versus Ryu matchup.
Could be Ken.
Yeah, but do either of them play Q at any point? Like, or
No,
is
Just
Seth?
keep reading.
Dan
Doesn't have to be free. That could be literally anyone.
Hadouken.
And Sounds of Aegis, Reflector, Hadoken, and
Arcade sticks moving in quarter circle motions fill the air for roughly the next 10 minutes. Finally, though, the two turned away from the machine. Mew stretched an arm high above his head, while Seth hung his head low and looked a little distraught. Of course, Mew. Ah, man. Yeah, oh, excuse me.
Oh man, you're good at this.
Seth's voice was relaxed and full of praise, while Mew chose to look at him with one eye up and got a little boisterous. What can I say? I've got a lot of spare time to practice. You alright, Mew?
what?
I think
What?
that Mew photoshopped his Hadoukens.
Hadouken.
Anyways, okay, Seth.
Wait, I didn't say no 7 rims. What the fuck?
Seth then
Fake
held
news.
his hand up again.
Seth then held his hand up again, this time the two shaking on a good match. Seth then said,
We ought to do this again sometime.
Yeah, that'd be great. Come to my place. I ain't got much junk food, but I've got plenty of games. Mew responded jolly. Seth's smile
What year
widened.
does this take place in? No, I'm joking.
Wait,
Fuck
jollily?
Yeah, jollily.
Yeah, it's a word.
Why not jovially?
Because
Oh,
jollily is also a
jovial.
word.
Because Mew doesn't know that word.
I know that word. I use it in this chapter, I believe.
Oh, well, I don't know that word, so. Oh,
Anyway,
There you go.
Seth's smile widened.
as the two parted hands with a whisper of, okay.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
He reached into his vest and pulled out a small stamp.
Here, take the stamp. It'll let you move on.
Just like that? Mew said with a bit of surprise.
Well, you did give me a thorough thrashing in Street Fighter, so it's only fair.
Oh, no.
By all means, I'll gladly take it. New best friend?
Mew laid the back of his palm out, and Seth went to apply the stamp. Three very loud bludgeoning sounds came from the immediate direction of the arcade machine.
I'm sorry, I just clicked on the image of a beta cluck.
Which now looked like a three-pronged crown of scrap with electricity spurting out of the tips. Kairi stood triumphantly over it, with staff in both hands and her face red hot. Seth widened his eyes and was a little too cool-headed as he bemoaned.
Aw, man, it took me an entire month to get that running mobile.
Kairi? What the hell?
I had to show everyone beta cluck because Franny showed Kennedy beta cluck.
Let's have a look at this.
This is the Franny IRL Pokemon right there.
That's a good image.
This Pokemon Clash of the Elements?
Yeah, sort of.
Mew said with his hand swung down by his hips. You be quiet. Kairi brandished a finger towards Mew and then leaped over the broken shambles of Seth's dreams to get right up in his face with the blunt end of her staff. Knew you were into that, Mew.
Focus, Tiger.
You're making it. And you... Just who the hell do you think you are?
Soldier Boy, apparently.
She yelled to a guy already throwing his arms up like he was under arrest. Oh my fucking god, Mew.
I know, I'm sorry. I realized I know, I did this to the one black character.
You repeat that?
Believe this.
You know, despite making up only 13% of the population.
Oh no.
Tiger, can you please repeat that?
Yeah, repeat it. I missed it too.
She yelled to a guy already throwing his arms up like he was under arrest. And this is the one black character in all of Clash of the Elements.
Well, that's not true. No, there's another one coming up later.
Does he get arrested too?
Spoiler.
No.
No, he gets away with it.
Yeah, his name is Lando.
Baby mama comes in.
Nah, he's a bar owner. I'll maybe talk about him some other time. Anyways,
Is his name Slappy?
Seth didn't even get a word in edgewise before Kairi went at it again. You're supposed to be a planetary Aryan. You're supposed to fight us, not hand out free passes like candy on Halloween. Princess, Mew sighed, only for Kairi to take a swing at him to make him retreat. Then she was back to holding Seth at staff point. Given a chance to breathe, the planetary Aryan closed his eyes and sighed. Why do I always attract the rowdy ones? Before trying diplomacy with his bitter aggressor. Do we have to do this? Seriously? PBS kids?
PBS kids.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Unless you're a chicken. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, there you go.
Unless.
Hey, watch the hair, man.
You're a chicken. Kairi took her staff to poke the top of Seth's hair and remarked, Your hairdo even looks like a chicken's cowl. Bok bok, chicken.
Kairi's a bitch, by the way, just saying.
Yeah, you should probably...
That's the point. She has to be a bitch at this point.
Is the point of Clash of the Elements to be unreadable?
Well, I knew that she'd be getting comments like that going into this.
Well,
That's
if it's unreadable, how are you
good
reading
grief.
it?
no,
I
I mean
take
not
it
no,
back.
I mean like not that.
She's behaving even worse than she ever was before. Mew lamented in his head.
It's not like Mew's taking any of her shit.
Mew lamented in his head. Mew decided to settle this difference at hand by telling Seth nonchalantly, "Just give her the fight she's craving, Seth." Seth turned his head towards Mew and blurted in shock,
I'm not gonna be her punching bag.
Don't. I'm fucking up now. Don't think of it like that. Think of it as... Mew raised his eyes up for a moment before closing them and smiling, relieving some tension.
Oh, if you can get some cucked.
Mew then sent Seth the link to his favorite Mario Kart 100% Crits jetpacks.
That'd be pretty good.
Tiger, focus.
I am the last person who should be doing that for someone.
But after Seth let out a long, worn-down sigh, he cautiously took a couple steps back and reached down for his hips.
But fine. If it's a fight you want.
No.
Seth whips out a pair of orange nunchucks connected by a bronze chain and starts whipping them around his arms and legs faster than a blender set on puree.
Descriptive.
Masterfully avoiding any bruising of his own skin, Seth grips both ends of his nunchucks and presses the chain against his back of his neck.
Whoops.
He kicks his toes, at the ground and says in a somewhat more serious tone,
And if you fight, you'll get it.
I love the Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
Kyrie cocked a grin and said, "Bring it all." Mars ziplined straight for her and socked her in the nose with the blunt side of... What? The blunt side of his nunchucks.
Aren't all of them the blunt side?
You master.
Some of them have an inserted blade within it.
He hasn't mentioned any of that yet.
Well, okay. I was expecting you to realize that meant like the side, not like the tip.
What the
Tip
fuck?
is still blunt.
They're all blunt.
Sorry.
Mew, I'm gonna hold your head
I made
under.
a mistake.
Shut the fuck up, Mew.
Anyways,
Never
Kyrie
make
is not.
mistakes again.
Kyrie
Just say the side of his nunchuck.
Yeah.
But if the cylinder doesn't really have a side.
Maybe
long
it's all
side.
one big side.
Kyrie was
The long side. There you
The
go.
whole thing is a side.
Pine cones.
Kyrie, did you know pine cones used to be called tree?
Tiger.
I don't even know why that came to me, but
Kyrie was.
Knocked on her back and went tumbling a few feet away. Mew let out a brief whistle and then slowly backed away to find a better spectator spot. Once Kyrie got up there was a bit of blood dripping out of her nose, but it was not as red as the rest of her face was as she growled at Seth. Seth widened his eyes and swiftly apologized.
My bad. I thought you were ready.
Ah, shit, I'm sorry.
Kyrie sweeps the dust off her shirt and then points her staff at Seth while growling, "Sorry for what? I'm going to beat your ass blue, chicken shit." Versus the desert whirlwind. Arian Mars.
Mood music.
Of fucking course the desert person is... Fucking hate
Alright,
you,
let's see this mood music. Ah, yes.
Is a desert person also short?
This accuracy is too great for desert people.
Does he have a pet lunar rover? You know,
No.
like how people have pet Roombas?
Still don't understand why you
Alright,
have the
I'll
same
listen to
song that I
They're not lunar rover, but you know, the ones that are on Mars. Mars rover, yeah.
All right, Tiger, keep going.
Hold on, I had to get the mood music going.
My mood music is make the music with your mouth is
You sat down.
Comfortably on the dusty ground and looked at his shirt once again. He created a sewing needle out of thin air and prepared the necessary means to stitch his shirt back together into something more presentable.
Oh my god.
Maybe he wouldn't have to do that if he didn't keep removing his sleeves off.
Oh,
He's
but he did.
He's fixing the cut in his chest from the battle earlier.
Make sure to give Kyrie's little duel with Seth the attention it deserved. He was, in his own terms, curious to see how she holds up this. Kyrie gripped her staff in both hands and ran at her opponent. The same opening move she made last two fights she had. Seth leaned down and to the left to dodge the downward swing. He then whipped his nunchucks at the back of her right knee, maybe.
Maybe.
All four at the same time incoming.
Kyrie lost her balance forward slightly, but stood right up and swung down at Seth's head. He zipped back her behind her and got upright in the blink of an eye. He hopped a bit off the ground and pummeled Kyrie in the back with a few rapid kicks. The last one used to flip out of harm's way. Kyrie stumbled forward and pawed at the ground before pulling herself upright and turning around. Immediately, Seth was in her path and used his nunchucks to throw a punch at her face. She barely turned her head out of the way, and her eyes looked like a deer in headlights. Seth quickly loosened one end of his nunchucks, then battered the side of Kyrie's face with a few hits, backing off when she growled and swung her staff up at his chest. Kyrie fumed in frustration. Hold still, damn! And rushed at him once more. Seth whipped his body around faster than he could blink, or she could blink, to avoid her staff thrusts, and said in exasperation,
Why would I want to get?
halfway. This is not very good new music.
It's because I'm not listening to the Biz Marquee song I linked.
All four of these are special in their own way.
Let's see.
I can get me mood music if you want.
Joe.
I'm doing it.
Alright, me master, your mood music has been replaced.
With the Ultra Instinct thing?
No. With Biz Markie, make the music with your mouth, Biz. Halfway through his stitching project, Emil looked over at the battle and said, "Protect your balls. She likes to aim low." Said, "Don't help him." Kyrie spat in his way, giving Seth an opportunity to sweep his left foot down to trip her flat on her
face.
He backed up and swung his nunchucks at increasingly slower speeds around his arms and shoulders, While Kyrie was busy working up the energy to plant her palms on the ground, Seth looked down at her and remarked aloud,
"Oh hey, I'm not going to move."
Kyrie's head swung right up to glare at Seth, which, when combined with a growl, caused the man to whimper slightly.
Hey, go easy on me.
Kyrie tried to sweep his legs with her staff, only for him to leap over it twice, then back off to put an end to that. Kyrie then got up running and tried to thrust her staff at him repeatedly. He easily evaded the attacks and whipped his nunchucks across her body. This just seemed to piss her off more and more as her growls were getting loud enough to sound like a roar. Once Mew finished stitching his shirt back to normal, he clapped his hands clean and played closer attention to Kyrie's fight. He said nonchalantly, "You winning over there?"
Are you
Son?
Right?
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd think that.
Right as Kyrie took another to the face and Tom halfway done and toppled over onto her.
Saying halfway done in mid-sentence is pretty weird.
Yeah. I just noticed the page number. As a matter of fact, Mew blinked a few times and watched as Kyrie scrambled back to her feet and leapt up for a overhead strike. Seth worked to behind her with a bone-crushing blow and then performed a short hop into a spinning kick to her back to knock her down. Kyrie punched the ground hard enough to crack it, then shot back upright. When she turned around, she screamed angrily, "Cut it out!"
Started walking like a gorilla.
I knew she was angry, but this is ridiculous, Mew bemoaned in his head, after watching Seth successfully evade her easily swung attacks. For a few more seconds, Mew raised his hands and created a small notepad for him to write using a graphite pen. What he was writing was an utter mystery, but Kyrie was the obvious subject matter as his eyes darted from her to the notepad. After a few more whacks from Seth's nunchucks, Kyrie's left cheek was starting to look a little bruised, and she fell onto one knee. Not meaning to be condescending in the slightest, Seth remarked,
"Man, now I'm starting to feel bad. You wanna just take me up?"
Kyrie stabbed her staff right into the ground and gnashed her teeth at Seth. She pulled herself up and snarled, "Don't look down on me."
You end up on my side.
She smashed the ground one more time with her staff and reached for the bracelet. She slammed that beast inward drive of hers down with an axe, who exclaimed, "You're dead, traitor." She unfurled her staff into its whip form and immediately summoned a lion to her aid. Mew sighed and wrote down in the notepad much faster than before. Seth was utterly baffled as he remarked,
"Traitor? What?"
The lion lunged for him, and he zipped back a couple feet on the spot, then repeated it a couple times to avoid its follow-up swings. Seth bit his teeth down and seemed more pressed to talk to Mew than avoid the man-eating feline.
"Hey buddy, what you writing?"
What is the left? Huh? Mew poked his head up, fluttered his free fingers out, and said, "Oh, don't fret over it. Focus on your fight." "Pay attention, damn it," Kairi yelled in tune with the lion's ferocious roar. The lion leaped into the air and tried to crush Seth under its weight. Seth leaped back out of the way, then ran forth to shoulder tackle the lion in the snout. Interesting word choice. The king of beasts was knocked onto its back and looked like one of those throwaway rugs. Holy shit. Seth tried
Don't
to
worry, he's
speak.
made of aura. He's fine.
Damn.
Know what else is made of aura?
My dick.
Probably.
Yeah. Anyway, Seth
Seth-
tried to.
Speed past the grounded lion when the
Oh,
When
see,
the-
that's my favorite movie.
when the it couple suddenly lashed its frontal right claw out. Seth hopped to the left and wound up getting tagged by the coil of Kairi's whip. Kairi growled very loudly as she dragged Seth in, who let out an eep right as her punch smashed into
Say
his
that eep has to be higher pitched.
Eep! Eep!
Okay, go ahead to the next sentence.
Wait, no.
Okay, before his back hit down hard, Seth planted his elbows against the ground. Ow! Fucking ow!
No, it's fine.
No, Seth planted his elbows against the ground. Mew, that hurts! That fucking hurts! Just take, fall on your back.
The ground is aura.
Anyway, planted his elbows against the ground.
And rammed his feet into Kairi's chin. She was knocked off her feet and accidentally let go of her opponent. Seth still fell on his back, but after a bit of breakdancing, you are actually just racist. You cannot convince me otherwise. You are actually racist.
No! Black people are the only ones who break dance.
But why did you make your the one black person break the
Fast!
in black?
Yeah, Sonic breakdances.
He's got that getting away from the top speed.
Breakdancing. Anyways, he jumped back on his feet.
And breathed a sigh of relief. A
Started
feeling
playing
that
jazz music on his Zoom.
Seth then sucked his teeth. Before his back hit down hard, Seth... Wait,
Feeling that be fleeting.
oh my bad. As the lion ambushed him from behind, Seth spun around and quickly whipped his nunchucks around his arms, alternating which hand held them. The weapon created an impenetrable barrier of whirlwind blows that suspended the lion in place until it was too weak to fight. I don't think that's...
Have you ever tried to fight without center of gravity?
Yeah, lions have a terrible air game.
I guess so.
What you tell us?
Oh, that's true. You play a game with a lion in it. How is this air game?
Fuck
strong,
that
actually.
character.
Well, there you go.
You guys talking about Crag?
Seth breathed.
Seth breathed
Lion beat.
another sigh as the lion fell down and disappeared. He muttered to himself, "They ain't like the giant scorpions back at home, but I still hate lions." Another feral growl alerted him to the danger from behind in the form of a giant tiger. He sucked his teeth and said, "And tigers gloat. Fuck you, Mew."
Man, how big is it? How big is this tiger? Tigers are already very large.
This would
Yeah, I'm
this would
pretty
be
tall.
this would be a scale you would know for reference if you had read an earlier chapter.
I'm not gonna do that though.
Exactly. Basically, let's say it's a human size.
The tiger raised its... a what?
It's basically a human-sized tiger.
You
So
mean
it's
human
tiny.
height, right? Because a regular-sized tiger is bigger than a human.
So it's like minuscule.
No, it's a
like an
tall
infant.
tiger. It's a tall tiger.
It's a fucking infant.
This tiger.
It's a
this tiger
tiger
has
lip.
its wit.
It's
This tiger. This
it's
tiger.
tiger
Oh my
size.
god.
It's
Even
tiger
in Clash of the Elements, I'm
5'11".
The tiger raised its claw.
to swing at Seth, but he dodged out of the way. He dodged out of the way and ran circles around the beast. He whipped his nunchucks into it while ducking and leaping over its claw swipes and gnarling bites. All the while, Kyrie was watching and stretching her whip out angrily. With how much she was grinding her teeth down, it was a miracle she had any left. Mew continued writing stuff down, but also made some mental notes in his head. Seth's not that strong, but that speed. He might even be faster than me. Aye aye. Mew pouts that he was robbed of a potentially fun fight, then turns that into an expression of curiosity by lifting his eyes up. I wonder if that's his drive. Since Seth's not up to much else but whittling away at the stationary tiger, Mew looked at him and hollered. Fucking hollered? Really?
If you hear me,
Yo,
Now
Seth.
we hear you.
Kennedy, get
Yo,
the mood
Seth.
music.
I'm getting the mood music.
I'll listen to
Yo, Seth.
How come he says yo to the black person?
Oh, shut up.
I'm not continuing until mood music is.
Does Mew use the N-word in this chapter by chance?
He gets his pass after the chapter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's his reward for beating Seth.
Yeah, he's gonna say it. Yeah, that's why I wrote this character.
Yeah.
Get the N-word pass.
Yo, Seth.
Does your really happen to have something to do with speed?
Yeah.
Sonic.
He yelled back, sounding a little exhausted. Oh, let me fix that, Mew. He yelled back,
Tiger, I would
sounding a little.
fix something, okay?
Shut up, Mew. Sounding a
No, I
little
like the
exhausted.
second version.
Sonic's the game's needs my game.
Mew then.
Looked over at Kyrie and saw her glaring at him. Her eyes were pinched down, and wrinkly looking. What?
I don't know how to visualize his facial expression.
You didn't want me to say eyelids.
This is the time. This is the
Are you
time.
serious?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Your eyes were so dehydrated they got
Eyelids are on cooldown. Use them. Or off cooldown. Use it.
Or just say he furrowed her brow or something. I don't know. This is
word. It's just not a good word to use 40 times in every sentence.
Mew nervously chuckled and thought,
This would be a good time to do that.
You mean the Chaos Emeralds?
Tiger, give up. Stop spoiling Devil May Cry 5.
Okay, if you spoiled it though, I will come to your house and assassinate you. That has gotta be the singliest look I've ever seen. Wrinkled eyes. Thinking got him. Well, thinking. He thus changed his question towards Seth to, might it have to do with the princess's sour mood? Wait a minute. Fuck, I blew it. Might it have?
everything.
I'm just gonna skip that one.
Seth bent.
Seth bent under the tiger's mouth,
What the hell?
then rising kicked him in the jaw, all the while biting his lip and remarking,
Ah shit, yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh shit, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Well, no, he's just responding to Mew's question. It's not about the tiger being kicked.
Sorry for what?
After the tiger takes a hard fall,
What comes after that?
tiger
On its back, Seth eases up and glances over at Kyrie, looking increasingly frightened by her almost demonic face. He then says in an embarrassed tone,
I drive kinda amplifies the strongest emotion of those near me. I don't have very good control over it.
So Tiger, if you met this guy, you'd actually be even shorter.
That's not an emotion. Short is not an emotion. I don't feel. I guess someone can feel short.
Shut the fuck up, Linklet. I've seen your legs. Shut up, Link. Fucking hungry ass skeleton.
Tiger, focus.
See, I'm not
angry about being short later.
No, my man rage never
Can't
left.
help it. He's got a short temper.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, he can't. He can't even be tall and punch out. Give him a break.
Anyways, the tiger flips back.
Onto its four paws and nearly scratches Seth's chest. The man pulls his nunchucks over his shoulders and remarks,
Alright, time to kick it up a notch.
How many more pages do we got?
Yes.
We're getting there.
I'm on. For me, it's just one giant page.
Faster than any I can blink.
Seth whipped his nunchucks down at the ground in a curve. This causes the dust to rise up in a small whirlwind. That's the battle title and the chapter title, where the tiger is carried into a helpless state off the ground. Seth then stretches his nunchucks in a straight line before his chest. The ends peel click off.
Whoops.
Revealing the shotgun shotgun barrel underneath each one. Mew's eyes widened and he whistled, "Awesome!" Much to Kyrie's... I never knew how to pronounce this word.
Chagrin.
Chakra.
Chagrin. It's chagrin.
Chagrin? Oh,
Seth leapt above the tiger.
As chagrin.
Of
We'll accept
course.
chagrin.
Yeah, okay. Much to Kyrie's chagrin, Seth leaped up above the tiger
I love chocolate.
and pointed his nunchucks down. The shotgun energy blasts.
Chutzpah's a great word.
Energy blasts, you fucking asshole. What's the point of the shotguns?
Shotgun
Well, he's black,
nunchucks
so-
shoot energy
Well, they're
blast.
actually being fired out as shotgun blasts.
No, you use real fucking shotgun bullets like a
You
slug
understand,
or...
he has a PG
No,
rating.
he's
He can't use
he's pouring his aura into his weapons to use as energy.
What does he need the weapon for? Just fire it out of his feet. Make finger
We need real
guns.
bullets.
Make finger guns or I-beams.
I like it.
Oh, that would
The
totally
cat.
be in character. Wait, excuse me?
Whoa!
The cat is fine too.
The shotgun energy blasts pounded the cat.
And helped keep him suspended. He rocket jumped?
He jumped. Yeah, that was pointed out earlier.
Is it a buckshot or a slug?
Buckshot.
Clearly energy. It's an energy shot.
Well, if it's a scatter shot, then yeah, it would be
He held back the recoil.
Surprisingly well. After about 10 of those blasts, the whirlwind subsided, and the tiger looked like Swiss cheese on the ground.
Graphic.
He's made of aura.
You do it to Kyrie now?
Like cheese.
Oh my god, Mantis!
Aura's aura.
Mantis!
That's too many holes.
Seth landed with a satisfied expression and murmured under his breath, "Thank you, Catherine." With a C, by the way. The Catherine is spelled with a C.
Well, that's just his favorite.
No, he's thinking all the key.
He's looking for full body edition.
Then a giant shadow loomed over his body. Mew sighed and thought, "Oh boy, here we go again." As Kyrie went right for her last resort, the lion, tiger, and bear.
Papa Roach.
Can't believe you've done this.
I can't believe I did it either. I didn't even realize I did it until you just mentioned it.
No.
Canadian.
Okay, you.
Oh, true. Of course it's a...
Mew shrugged his shoulders out.
Of course you knew Mew. You deliberately said in her profile that she lion, tigers, and bears. You had to have seen that. Yes, the oh my was in there too.
Okay.
Mew shrugged his shoulders out and said,
It's not going to.
Seth became paralyzed for a moment, and the bear pinned him down to the ground under one of its beefy claws. Mew squeezes his eyes shut, takes a deep breath in, and sighs out nasally.
I stand correct.
I have a question.
What?
How did Seth Killian escape his prison in Riot Games basement?
This is what the story's about, actually.
No,
These are the things guarding the prison.
No, this is the Street Fighter, Seth.
No, Minjo has good. Okay.
Yeah, Seth Killian, the Street Fighter, Seth.
Anyway, Seth looked uncomfortable.
Lying under what was likely a couple tons worth of pure anger, but he kept his cool under duress and said,
Alright, I give up, you.
But Kyrie stretched her whip up and growled in a rather deep tone of voice.
Turn him into the wheelers and...
Say that again in an actually clear voice.
Turn him into the... Turn into...
That's not your Kyrie voice. Yours is...
Well, it said it was a deep voice.
Turn him into
Yeah, the deep voice.
Okay.
I thought it... Okay.
Gamer, I get the joke.
Yeah, I did.
Thank you.
Turn him into veal or some aimer.
The bear roared and raised its other claws up. How many is it?
Just its claws, though, not
Well,
like...
I mean, it's on its hind legs.
Oh, okay.
It has 4 arms.
Yeah, but like...
Seth,
is it
widens
only
his eyes
raising
and
the
goes,
claws? Not like the arms?
Whoa, hang on.
It's like
I don't want
Legs,
to...
rather. Just the claws.
Guys, let Tiger talk.
No.
Well, hang on.
I don't want to be turned into stripstick.
While Kyrie was so busy taking up a profession as a meat butcher, Mew snuck up behind her. He pressed a finger up to his lips while summoning an ice cube between 2 other fingers. He then slipped the ice cube down the back of Kyrie's shirt. Is that like a sexual harassment or something?
No!
Yeah.
They don't have HR on Mars.
In 2019.
How's it?
That is.
He's helping her cool down.
I need to show Shep my
That's even right.
Dude, that's why you have the Gatorade.
Well, you can't create Gatorade.
Why?
Because it's...
Trademarked?
I can't monetize it because the character makes Gatorade.
Oh no.
Also has Mario in it.
Her arms
I haven't seen him.
down.
And she jolted upright. Mew can hear her biting her teeth down and shivering, and chuckles at it. It's not so funny when she turns around and glares at him though. Mew just crosses his arms up and turns his head aside to whistle innocuously. After a bit... What was that?
I just wanted to say I hated that. That sequence was bad. Shit.
There's a lot of bad
Very
sequences.
cartoon.
I know, I bet one of these once.
Yeah, he did.
And you're right where they fucked.
Yeah.
Okay, after a bit of that...
I love anime.
And manga.
And
Gilgamesh.
You should have
After a
calmed
bit
her
of
down
that...
by brushing her teeth.
Well, you can't talk about that commercial anymore. Vic Mignogna's in trouble, okay?
Oh, yeah.
He's got a lawyer dealing with that though.
Yeah.
Guys, after a bit of that...
Mew grins and tells her, "You hear from Princess? He surrendered all." Kyrie crumpled her upper lip up, then turned her glare back towards Seth. The bear's claw was frozen halfway towards killing him, or at the very least giving his pretty face an ugly makeover. Seth squeezed one hand out underneath the claw and waved it out to say,
Don't mind me, just take your time.
sarcastically. Kairi squeezed her fists and stiffened her upper lip. She then growled, "Fine," and the bear was called off a moment later. While she did that, Mew tucked the filled-up notebook in his back pocket. "I'll see you again soon." Seth breathed a good old breath of life and stood right back up. He tucked his nunchucks into the back of his pants and whispers aloud, "Why be? Why be?"
Oh, I'll be.
A sentiment Mew could totally empathize with. Still, despite how south things were going, Seth
south.
Again with the racism, Mew. You gotta stop.
Shut up. Just keep going.
Seth approaches.
Keep going.
Seth approaches the two with a positive attitude. Not that Kairi offered the same to him.
Racist.
"Haha, I won. Take that," she declared in a chipper tone while thrusting a fist at his face.
Racist. Help her brother out.
She appropriated the Black Power signal.
Oh no.
Paused up close
To her knuckles, and then shuffled his body away from them to get in front of Mew. He reaches into his vest to pull out the stamp, and then quickly stamps the back of Mew's hand. As he puts the stamp away, he remarks, "This could have gone by so much faster." "And with less attempted murder?" Mew chuckled. "That might have been nice." Seth sighed in turn. Mew looked down at the stamp and saw that it was orange.
Oh.
Wait. If the stamp is orange, how does he see it on his hand?
Maybe that's why he noticed. He can't see it.
It seemed to
depict a pair of scimitars. Scimitars.
How much do they cost?
Mew, when do you want your iron skimmies, by the way?
But the blades
of them looked oddly like dollar bill signs.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Mew, you are a racist.
Keep
really are.
going.
Really are.
No, I have.
What has an explanation?
Dollar bill, y'all.
You blade.
Hold on a second, Mew. Okay, one or two things, it's a coincidence. Every single time you describe this black guy in your story, one of the few, it's some kind of racial bullshit.
Tiger, read the next fucking line.
Mew blinked a couple times. Mew blinked a couple times, and Seth responded with his hands waved out. "Don't ask. The snaps weren't my idea."
See, it was not his idea.
It was your idea.
No. Wait, it was. It's not racist.
Exactly, it's your idea.
How is money racist?
Because there's only white people on the bills.
Yeah. Yes, he's got it.
Got him. White people have it.
This is really deep.
Looked at him.
I guess and Asian people.
Looked at him and had
music.
Had a different question on his mind. "Actually, I wanted to ask you a personal question, if you don't mind." "Shoot," Seth said without hesitation. Mew crossed his arms up and inquired, "Why are you black?"
No, come on.
Do you like fried chicken?
Why
are you working for...
True.
Why are you working for Gravitas? You don't strike me as much of a fighter. Seth bemoaned in a somewhat offended tone. "Hey man, that's rough. I mean, you're not wrong per se, but what?" You prodded curiously, like a kitten. "That's fucking gay."
Did he do the paw curl? Ugh.
It's just that.
Yeah, it's just that. It's just the paw
I
curl.
disgusted myself.
It's just that if.
There's no reason to fight. Why bother?
Such simple answer wasn't something Mew could agree with, but he saw where he was coming from.
As for gravitas,
Seth had to take a deep breath before giving his answer.
well, he pays well.
Ah, so it's all about the money, Mew said. Almost like he was giving him grief over it.
Hey, a brother's gotta make a living.
Seth responded.
He doesn't say brother.
Mew nodded Mew nodded his head and muttered, "So true, so true."
The struggle. You gonna mention the struggle?
Then.
Hold on a second.
You're almost there, Tiger.
God, I hope so.
I think that we're like 70% done.
No, we're at like 80.
Oh, nice.
Seth then held his hand out and asked, "So hey, I know that if I went sour, I know that went sour, but I'd still totally like to hang out again sometime." Mew firmly shook his hand, looked him in the eyes, and gave him a bit of motivation in the form of, "And good luck repairing your machine." Seth glanced back at the machine in disarray and grumbled meekly,
It's alright. I'm kind of used to it.
Video recording.
After the two let go, Mew gestures at the portal to get Kairi moving. She's still glaring at Seth with her shoulder over her shoulder as they make their way back. But before the incorrect there, by the way, out of earshot.
No, they're not. That's not the incorrect one. Oh.
No, it's not.
Wow, but before they are...
Seth suddenly yells,
Hey, would you make it to the next planetary arc?
Mew turns around. Seth pauses and then awkwardly mumbles,
Never mind. Good luck.
"This anime as fuck." Mew blinked a few times and then followed Kairi through the portal right as she emerged from the other side. He saw her grinning from cheek to cheek with her hands behind her head. She had this high and mighty attitude that reflected in her voice. "That was easy. I have beaten 2 planetary Aryans all on my own." Mew had a
Black.
Were they both black, Mew?
No, the other one was a little girl.
I didn't realize those were exclusive.
No, she's dead. And
I didn't realize those were exclusive.
Yeah, black people can't die.
Yeah. Dude, black people have gun immunity. They get shot every day.
I don't think that's how evolution works.
Yeah, it is. Shoot yourself with smaller bullets to build up an immunity to bigger bullets.
Mew had a blank look on his face.
Simple physics.
Typical.
And not a single witty retort to draw on. Patting down the notepad further into his pocket, he remembered the discussion he had with Gabrielle.
Old man voice. Use an old man voice.
Mew, do you like My Hero Academia?
I do.
Don't watch an anime.
If Lady Kairi...
Hold on, but how do you feel about My Hero?
Okay, I'm gonna do this line.
No, hold on. Wait, no.
This is the punishment.
No, don't you dare take this punishment away from me. I've been waiting.
Okay, go.
You killed me. Is that the line?
If Lady Kyrie.
If Lady Kyrie is brought to Gravitas, it'll be the end of everything. Mew looked Kyrie in the eyes and softly told her, "Hey, princess, we need to talk."
I wish you'd made one of these characters Meatwad.
I can't.
German Meatwad, though.
I can't do that, Roy.
Yeah, where's Spud, man? We need him.
Kyrie, open your eyes.
Oh yeah, he did do it.
Okay.
He did a pretty good Meatwad.
Some of the voices were actually.
And had this smarmy grin as she boasted,
Where'd Mario go?
"Hold on, water."
He's between lives.
Ackerby, why?
What?
Why?
What?
You know what you've done.
You know.
Finally.
The Rock has come back.
No. Finally gonna
admit your victories so far were flukes. Oh boy. These people wrote this shit. Shouldn't have heard. Alright, am I really up for this? Mew felt the greatest sensation of dread ever.
Dude, Mew just got worked into a seething shoot.
Ding dong diddly.
As he closed his eyes.
Seething.
As he closed his eyes and gathered his thoughts, he tried to come up with the least offensive way to ding dong diddly say what he was about to say.
Oh, that's where he says it? The word?
He's got the pass. It's on the back of his hand.
He tries to come up with another way to say the N-word.
You're lucky we
even made to the 4th floor, let alone gained access to the 6th. It was a soft enough start, and Kyra even thought he was joking, as she snickered at him. "What are you talking about?"
Willis.
Mew wiggled a hand around by his hip gay and remarked, "Hate to tell you this, princess, but you..." He bit down his teeth and hissed with one open eye, "Not a very good fight." Her mood 180'd from happy to annoyed as she bitterly asked, "What do you mean I am not a good fighter?" Before Mew could clarify it, Kyrie swung her fists down and yelled at him, "I'm plenty strong, so where do you get up?" Mew actually managed to shut her up by feeding into her huge ego momentarily. "Oh yeah, you're definitely strong," then whispering painfully from the corner of his mouth, "My balls can attest to that." What?
He got hit in the balls by Kyrie's staff back in chapter 4.
Whoa! It's no weird thing to say.
Right?
Just bring up your balls in a random conversation.
Yeah, but he's talking to himself. Anyways, but then
he quickly sought to take her down a peg by bringing to her attention, "But being a good fighter isn't all about being strong. Power is everything. Without power, you..."
Magic.
Read it.
Okay, Virgil. Quiet down and hear me out.
Feels like my boy Shadow is like flipping out right now.
Mew put on his serious tone and got straight to the point. What the fuck? I'm not... That's the weakest planetary organ we faced so far. And like, no offense meant to him, but he's so weak, you didn't actually need your beast tamer trying to beat him. Stating that point with so much certainty got Kairi quiet for a little bit, giving Mew the freedom to tell her, you know why you were losing? Because you gave me your number. Everything you do is predictable.
Dude, he's just mansplaining here.
And Kairi doesn't even care of mansplain, so what is he even about?
Yeah.
You knew Kairi's face
Was turning purple as the signal to back down, but he wasn't going to relent this time around. Told her bluntly, all the strength in the world means means ding dong diddly squat if you don't have the skill to make use. Kairi spat at Mew with actual spit. But in a knockoff heap of it.
No skill.
Much to his surprise.
Then barked out at him. Bah, what are you? Mew blinked as the spit slid slowly down his face, retorting in a none too offended, hey, you saw it yourself. I got fighting on the brain. Is he like not gonna wipe that up?
He likes it.
Leave her alone.
Mew stared at him. Kairi stared at him.
Kairi stared at him and stuttered, I didn't say. Mew grinned. But you were thinking it. I could tell. 'Cause I have psychic power.
What? Oh, it's like Lewis.
Kairi's face turned pale, so Mew quickly course-corrected the subject by saying, okay, I'm kidding, but see what I mean? If a grade A dumbass like me can guess your thoughts, imagine what someone smarter than me would do in a heated battle. Kairi turned her head down and let Mew keep going at it. I believe you got what it takes to go far, princess. But you just gotta apply yourself a bit. Let me teach you a bit of what I know, and I promise you'll be a much better fighter for it. Not even doing goofy anymore, I don't know what this is. She paused for a moment, seeming to think about his offer. But then she swung her head up high, and while walking right past him remarked, or I'll just go to the next floor. What do you think about that? I think. Mew sighed and snapped a couple fingers right up by his face. Immediately the ground below the stairs to the next floor shot up to form a wall to block the way. Kairi reeled back in the face of the insurmountable obstacle, and Mew faced her. Yeah. And Mew faced her with a grin. That's a big fat no. Kairi pouted at him, then whipped out her staff to take a huge whack at the wall. Her staff stiffens up and vibrates,
It's getting hot.
carrying that sensation all the way to her arms and forcing her to drop it in fright. It's like a Tom and Jerry shit.
Yes.
Mew sighed and shook his head. No doing, princess. Right now, I'm the only one who can take down this wall. Social commentary, I like. He stared at her sternly and told her the deal. And I ain't gonna budge unless you take up my offer. It's either that, or I go the rest of the way on my own.
I can do it the easy way or the hard way.
Your choice. Kairi points at Mew and goes, listen here, you perverted shitbag. I I.
Oh.
Before succumbing to a severe loss for words, she bites her teeth down, sways her head around, and performs a few other acts of resistance before it seems like all her rage just sort of disappears. Stoic in expression, she stared at Mew and wondered aloud, "Why do you care so much?" Mew popped a grin and chuckled. "You wouldn't believe me, even if I told." In her first instance of selfless interest, Kairi pouted and muttered,
"Can you see?"
"Try me." Mew laid his hands behind the back of his head and said, "'Cause I like help people in need. I like helping people in need." "That's it?" Kairi said, with her brows raised in suspicion. "That's it," Mew echoed. "No, I'm not. You have to have a reason." "Why do I need a reason to help someone?" Mew then chuckles and remarks, "I feel like we've had this conversation already." Kairi lowered her head and then, upon squeezing her eyes shut, growled, "Gah, fine. I'll do your dumb training." "Sweet!" Mew cheered and clapped his hands together. He then turned for the stairs down and remarked, "Now where could our pipe be? Now where would we find a dojo in Sanctuaria? Sanctuaria?"
There you go.
Garfield.
The cat has it.
Garfield is chaos.
There's one
in the basement back home. Oh, they gotta get to the basement, huh? Mew's eyes widened as he twisted his body back and went, "Huh? Excuse me, H? Huh?" Kairi raised her head and grumbled, "I am not going to repeat myself. You heard me." "And no, it's just that." Upon further reflection, Mew didn't even know why that took him by surprise. He quickly perked back up and remarked, "Ah, whatever works. Let's get on back to your house then. Your training begins on the spot." Yoing. Kairi unceremoniously crossed her arms and followed Mew on a one-way walk out of the pier. Mew felt pretty confident that this detour would be worth it, even if Kairi didn't believe so right now. Next time on Clash of the Elements, words of the not-so-wise.
Congratulations, Tiger.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Well, Tiger, this'll just be motivation to not suck next time.
I am not playing in any competition with you ever again.
Good. You've learned your lesson well.
Right. So 10-word review for this chapter.
Future so bright.
You got 4 words left over.
Suck my nuts, assholes.
Clash of the Elements.
That's really just it. Clash of the Elements. Future so bright, gotta wear shades. 10-word review right there.